Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James the Fat Man Stevens, and the man that made Roxanne turn the red light on, Ryan Preston. So, I was been reading in the news how Disney's most likely going to buy Fox Entertainment with like 71 point something billion dollars. So if what I've been reading is correct, they'll solely own the rights to Star Wars and the Indiana Jones franchise.
Considering they have rights for both, why not?
Well, I just think
it'd be putting that out there. I mean, they've had rights for them for very, very, very long time.
Well, I actually think it's cool because, Comcast was trying to buy them because they own NBC Universal. And I actually would rather have Disney have the rights to that because at least Disney's fairly respectful to the source material, unlike Comcast, who can just suck a dick.
Well, Disney at least has a few different faces they put on. You know what I mean? They own enough properties where they're not throwing the Disney logo at you, but like didn't they own Miramax for a while?
I don't think
they own Miramax. Wasn't that a 20th century?
Disney owned Miramax.
They might have. Well, look that up, Ryan.
Yeah, I will. Actually,
there's this thing that's been around, called Google. I mean, just putting that out there,
But in any case, so they have a lot of different hats they can put on and a lot of different titles they can, release things under. So it doesn't all have to be under the mouse.
Well, they all do Goose Step together.
And you're right. They owned Disney owned them from 1993 to 2010.
Huh.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Let's see.
Hey, my memory works just fine. Fuck Google.
Now that's funny.
All right.
And no, thank you. I'll skip that. It is interesting though, taking like the divisions they have. They used to own Dimension Films, Prestige Films,
Harvey Weinstein,
Dimension Home Entertainment. There was
Bill Cosby, all the rapists.
Talk about that. Guy Pearce was actually talking about Kevin Spacey. Okay. Guy Pearce did something L.A. Confidential with him.
Oh yeah,
and he was talking about how he was, and this is on and I think it was an interview show in Australia, was talking about how he's kind of handsy, and Guy Pearce says, luckily I wasn't a 14-year-old. It's like,
damn.
And he seems to be pretty chill. I've never read anywhere or heard him talk crap about anybody. He seems fairly neutral, but he just laid into him. I'm like, yes.
Wow. All right. Must have been really handsy.
I'm a big fan of Guy Pearce.
We know. We do know.
I'm talking to the audience.
Okay.
All 3.5 of them.
Isn't that us?
Okay, the 0.5.
So you're just counting Ryan now.
Well, Ryan's girlfriend, technically.
So, Netflix got...
you're not paying attention. That doesn't count.
So Netflix got in The Last Jedi. They're now streaming on Netflix. So I was actually watching it.
Hey, I could finally see it.
And I gotta admit, there was something that really annoyed me that they had in there. Now let's see what Ryan thinks about this. They were shooting the cannon from the Dreadnought or whatever, and it was arching. So
it was arching?
Yeah. They were shooting arching shots.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how ballistics work in space.
But that's what I was thinking.
But it's
I was
laser
watching
beams.
it. No, they were like plasma bolt thingies.
So it's like Halo.
They didn't really go into the thing of it.
They can control it.
But I'm just wondering what gravitational forces they were accounting for. Because they weren't near a star. They weren't near a black hole. I mean, I could understand leading a spaceship as it's moving. But I mean, like, if you're firing in a line-to-line sight in space... I don't see anything that they would be trying to account for when it's like lined up and straight on.
Well, there's a great YouTube series called Because Science.
Okay.
And they kind of break down, different movie things as far as the, is this
technical
possible? Would that work that way? And usually for the geeky shit, like would the superhero landing be an effective way to absorb the shock of landing from a high distance. And no is the answer to that, by the way.
Wait, you mean the fist
But,
and on the knee?
No, will Lois
Dave,
die if she has coitus with Superman?
Technically,
Well,
yes.
for example, one of the ones that he breaks down the math of everything. Like, he actually goes into the physics of why you would not want to be accelerated super fast by the Flash, for example.
Because you would die and your organs would
Because you
basically
would liquefy
disintegrate.
essentially in your skin.
Yeah, your organs and everything would disintegrate.
Right. So, but he'll break down the math, and it's fucking great. But he's done a lot of Star Wars things. And the one thing I've learned, because science, is we have to take everything in the Star Wars universe with a grain of salt. There's no possible, plausible, and if this was true, then that's how the lightsabers work. The lightsabers work because of fucking magic.
So
Okay.
he can
So
basically
the arcing shot and coming from that dreadnought, as far as I'm concerned, works because of magic.
so basically he disregarded the fiction in science fiction, right? I mean,
But I'm literally watching
Well,
it.
that's the point. Is that
but-
that it's there's a lot of things in the science fiction realm that he said, like, look, if this was true, this would be possible. You know.
Well, okay.
He
Now,
breaks down how Rick and Morty has one of the best time skip. The way they keep track of their time jumps.
oh, okay.
and if pigs had
traveling
wings,
through
they could
time.
fly.
But now I was giving the grain of salt to Poe in his the X-wing and the G forces that would actually basically kill him, that he was continually doing every 30 seconds.
And there's no banking in space. You know what I mean?
That's
You
what I'm
don't-
saying.
you don't
If he
bank
did
an
a
airplane,
But if he did a banking shot in space in that X-wing, wearing just whatever he's wearing, he would literally die.
How many rails did he hit?
But probably a lot before
I'll tell
he
you
got
who
on the
actually
ship.
got it. Who actually got it really, really cool,
Stimpack?
or
Stimpack?
at least
Who says
close
Stimpack?
enough to where it was going for the actual physics, even though it was still totally science fiction. Was Battlestar Galactica?
Oh yeah,
Had their dogfighting done with the thrusters,
Yeah.
and it's fucking badass.
yeah, it was very well thought out. But
Which is amazing considering it's a sci-fi channel, and not exactly the bastion of reality coming from that
True,
network.
but
That being said, Battlestar Galactica might be one of the best sci-fi things ever made.
no, I agree there.
Now, did they talk about? So I'm assuming the way you're saying it, they talked about the inertia and stuff. Like
they didn't talk about it, but
Well,
they
they don't
did have a
talk
lot
about
of
it at all.
compensation thing for that.
Well, like they showed about it. You
Yeah.
know, like if their engines died, they talked about, we're gonna just keep drifting, and
Yeah, they
it
would do
wasn't
stuff
like
like
all
that.
of a sudden you
That's-
stop.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about that show is there's no big computer telling you what's wrong with everything. It's literally like crew chiefs down there turning wrenches.
Yeah.
Making sure that the
You mean the
fighter pilots
Cylon?
have planes to get in.
You mean the Cylon?
And the entire premise of the show, how they can't really have that type of technology. Like
But-
networking.
Yeah,
is
well,
illegal.
the whole show it's basically a Navy drama.
Yeah.
It's a Navy political drama.
Yeah, that basically
Might as
sums
well
up
be
the whole
Jag
thing.
in space.
Jag in space.
I don't know about Jag. I
Or
mean, there really
NCIS,
wasn't a lot
you
of. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of
So
law.
was
and
there a
things like that, but-
Scientologist on the show, just like on Jag?
Yeah, yeah.
Probably.
That was all the leaders. They were all Scientologists. Yeah, I was watching Last Jedi, and that arching shot that they continually did was really starting to bug the shit out of me.
Again, it's on my list of things to see. I'll have to
But I mean,
add it
there
so I
was
can see it at
really
some
no
point.
planet nearby, no great star, no black hole. I mean, it's just like you just line up the shot.
Well, I think a lot of the universe. Well, obviously, a lot of the universe was created prior to us knowing all of these things, or at least them all being sort of common knowledge as they are. Because it's not like we're fucking scientists; we're dummies.
No, I'm
so
a
if
fucking
we know this
scientist.
shit,
Shut
that
up.
means everybody knows this shit.
Everybody
But
knows
wouldn't
I'm a
they-
fucking
but-
scientist.
But with the
But my
way they are
point
with
is
a modern
you can't-
television, though, wouldn't they adjust
You
for
can't
it?
retroact.
No.
No, that's the thing is you can't retroactively go back and change the laws of the universe that was already created. Obviously
Didn't
now
stop
we know
Lucas.
better and we can do things differently, but not with Star Wars. You have to keep it the way it is.
Well, I mean, they could easily make that change because there was really no big space battles in between against
But if you,
Star
if you make
Destroyers
that
or
change, Then you change the physics of the X-Wings. You don't bank anymore. You're using thrusters. The lightsabers don't function properly. I mean, you can't start adding Earth physics or our universe physics.
You see, the banking, I agree. I don't think you could change, but you could make it so you could hit, the laser blasts or whatever went straight, unless there's a reason for it. You have some sort of story device that's saying, "Oh, my blasters." There is
no reason for it other than it looks cool. Yeah. That's the only reason they did it back in the day in the 70s, because nobody knew any better. Now that we do, it's either you make a Star Wars movie or you make something else.
So we're all basically a bunch of smart marks and telling them what to do.
Well, let me just put it this way.
Well, my point is that if you can't nitpick the arcing blast if you're not going to nitpick everything else.
We did a show called Real Fix Reviews for 6 years. I think we can nitpick about that.
Nitpick?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my point, is that it's all on equal footing. So, apples to apples, it's either everything is awful and this movie sucks, or I'm just going to take everything with a grain of salt.
See previous statement.
I mean, a planet full of salt. Now, but I want to bring up...
Yes, a planet full of salt.
You're welcome.
Nice reference.
Anyways, but bring up Star Trek. I mean, I never saw them do any arching shots. Think about it.
Well, because the show wasn't about the visuals. The visuals were only to serve the story. The story was about the morality tale.
He's got a good point. It was about society, and I mean, Kirk was the first one to do interracial kissing.
Yeah, but Next Generation
on national television.
The later iterations were about the visuals, because the visuals really added to. It was the atmosphere that added to the show. It may not have been the main character like in Star Wars, but it was definitely an important ancillary character.
The Force. There wasn't the Force in Star Trek.
You had the mind meld. I don't know.
All right.
But
Klingons raping everybody.
Allegedly.
You didn't watch the same episode I did. Or was that the playpen? The playpen version? Is that even still around?
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, never mind. Penthouse, I think, is what I actually meant. Whatever. Anyways, so
that went way in left field.
What's your general opinion on just?
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so Brian, you remember Kenny versus Spenny, right? I know John never watched it.
I know of it.
I remember.
Really?
Don't sound so enthusiastic.
So I found a show that I think is very similar to it, but it's like a very tamed down version of it, and it's a BBC show called The Joys of Tech. And so what they do is they have this guy, I forget their names. I haven't paid attention that much. But they have one of the guys who brings in a lot of tech for everyday life, just to change it and things like that. And then the other guy is obviously not so much on tech.
So is one like a Luddite?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Look it up. Yes, and I'm talking to you.
Anyways, but
so
there's not.
I missed this. This is not starring Kenny and Spenny.
No.
He's saying it's
not
similar.
Okay.
I'm saying it's similar in the aspect of they take two guys who are like.
I didn't think anything in the world was similar to Kenny versus Spenny.
Well, I think you should watch the show and you'll kind of get where I'm going with it. I mean, there's no like punishment for challenges.
Right. Okay. You mean humiliations, I think.
Yeah, humiliations I think is what they use. But there was actually one, I mean, like literally, I literally laughed my ass off at one point of it. But I think it's like a show that I think they should do more often, where they take two spectrums, two very extremes of the spectrum and bring them together. I think they don't do that show anymore.
How extreme was this guy as far as being a technologist?
Well, he's more like kind of a fanboy.
Was he a bleeding edge fanboy or?
Well, I think it's more of like the fact that he looks and tries to find things that are kind of like on the extreme of it. Like he found this neck, basically like a neck airbag thing that goes and protects your head.
So basically, he's like the gadget guy. If there's technology that'll even remotely improve his daily life, he gets it.
Yeah, basically. Okay. And I don't know if he's actually doing it with his own money. Like, he's actually brought in some things that are like in like the $3,500, $4,500 range.
Honestly, what it's probably sponsors.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I don't see how the sponsors would really do it.
Well, like for example, all these car shows you see where they're working on cars, 95% of those products are from sponsors.
Yeah, but he's not out there saying this is from this brand.
You don't necessarily have to.
That's a good point.
You like what usually they do? They'll say like Bob's House of Hardware provided this. You know, it's usually kind of a small throwaway line like they throw in. If it's
not necessarily.
If it's on YouTube, you have to.
Well, it's on Netflix, so I think maybe they cut it out. Anyways, but there's like one where the guy decided, like, I'm gonna have all these products that you bring in, and we're gonna test to find out how durable they are. And he basically took like some waterproof bags and a couple of things, and he's like, we're gonna put this stuff in there. We're gonna take this like $1,000 laptop and put it in this waterproof bag, and it's gonna go down to the water park.
Oh God.
Yeah, so there's things like that they kind of do that. That's pretty amusing. But he actually took he found the non-tech guy, the Luddite, had a Nokia that he put in a Ziploc bag and put it in the waterproof bag down the water park.
A Nokia?
Yeah, the Nokia didn't survive.
Like a smartphone?
Yeah, well, no, like a Nokia.
Oh, like, so the old school Nokia.
Yeah, the Nokias that, you could use as a brick.
You could kill somebody with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, but I was watching it. It kind of reminds me of Kenny versus Spenny in some ways. But I mean, like, Ryan, what was the worst humiliation that you remember?
Oh man,
because there's one that sticks in my mind, and it'll always stick in my mind.
It's been so long since I've seen him. I remember more of the stunts than anything. Like they're being tied to a goat.
Yeah,
the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
What's the one that usually sticks out?
Well, there was one, and it was like, I don't remember the exact thing, but Kenny got drunk the night before, didn't brush his teeth, and came downstairs and took a butter knife and scraped his tongue and put it in a cup for Spenny to put in his mouth. That was the grossest and most horrid humiliation that stuck out in my mind from Kenny versus Spenny, and that will like always mortify me.
And in other news, Sony, in their own amazing way of screwing stuff up, instead of uploading a trailer to YouTube, they uploaded the whole fucking movie.
What movie?
Kali the Killer. Khali.
I haven't even heard of it.
Sony accidentally uploaded an entire movie to YouTube instead of trailer Tuesday, and they didn't take it down for more than 6 hours.
Oh,
I repeat,
shit, that is gone.
The trailer for Kali the Killer was intended to announce that film will be released on DVD and digital platforms. You see, it wasn't apparently an important movie like Avengers.
Not like a blockbuster, but is it like Ichi the Killer?
Let's see if I can. It's since been removed. By the way, I love that. Oh, it's been removed.
No, it's been downloaded like probably a billion times.
I will say I was kind of bummed that I wasn't home because I would have at least let me save this for later. So hold, if you give me a second, I'll bring it up on the old guy tech TV iPad.
Is that a plug?
Yes. It's a poor man's plug. I hear Kali the Killer 2017.
Oh, well,
I'm assuming this is it.
Was it made in 2017?
Yeah,
I assume it wasn't released last year.
No, it says 2017 though. This could be a different one. This could be the same. I'm not really sure. But according to this, if this is the right one, after deciding to retire, an East LA hitman decides to take on the last job to help support his ailing grandmother's end-of-life care. But everything falls apart when he developed empathy for targets of his hit and is forced to make a tough decision.
Well, that just sounds stupid.
Now I know why Sony released it.
Yeah, just put the whole thing on there.
By the way, that would be great if that's the next step for shitty movies. Instead of releasing the theaters and direct to DVD,
they just release it on YouTube.
So
yeah,
then,
I don't even think I want to watch that. No wonder it was like just released.
so look for Shrek 17 on YouTube any day now.
I can't even find it on IMDb. Am I misspelling it? What is it?
It's
Kali the Killer?
Khali.
Oh, KH.
Yeah, Kali. I just couldn't imagine whoever did that either got fired or applauded. I'm kind of wondering which one that is.
Or disappeared.
Right. He comes back to work and he's missing a pinky.
No, it's just. I mean,
Yeah, that's a pretty. I mean, wow, the amount of money somebody's going to lose on that. I mean, look, things get pirated anyway, and I suppose it's probably going to be pretty mitigated because the people that were going to pirate it were probably going to just pirate the shit anyway. So,
I know that guy.
I'm just like
I don't know.
amazed that this
it's,
guy even has like an acting career like that.
He looks familiar. Oh, as another thing, I just was looking for something else and discovered Disney has at least temporarily put the kibosh on the individual Star Wars films because Solo, the movie, apparently bombed in the box office.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, I want to see Solo at some point, but I don't have time.
I think they might have been
Overzealous?
not biting out more they can chew, but yeah, maybe a little overzealous, a little too excited that they got the Star Wars property and they wanted to just throw everything in there, and they got really ambitious about it.
I think what they did is they decided right off the bat, Han Solo is a very likable character. There's a lot of people that are big Solo fans, and they decided that they were going to try to do a standalone movie with him. And I think that is what they did instead of listening to the fans who were calling for Young Yoda, Knights of the Old Republic, things that were not necessarily
Better sequels.
Not better sequels, but not necessarily like things that we would already know. I mean, if they really wanted to do it, do you guys know the origin of the Millennium Falcon and why it's the only one? Any guys ever wondered that? That's because it was a prototype that they were trying to do, that they had a mid-range fighter to be in between the TIE fighter, and it was actually an Imperial design that was supposed to go to them, and it was leaked, and the Millennium Falcon was a prototype that got stolen.
Which lore is that from?
That's from canon.
That's not extended? Interesting.
That's canon.
According to the Motley Fool, morethanmonth.com, I think, more than a month after the film's release, Solo's box office sits roughly at $350 million worldwide. That might not sound too bad, but with an estimated $250 million production budget and a big advertising push, the picture is now expected to lose somewhere in the neighborhood. And I quote, this is in big, bold font, ladies and gentlemen, $50 million. Much of that could be recuperated through home release distribution of merchandise, and even possible that these factors will put the picture in the black over long term. I don't actually think they're going to make any money in the long run on DVD releases, because I don't think, not too many people are like us. I mean, even I'm more selective on what I purchase these days. I just don't see it. It will on like swag, like the T-shirts and stuff.
The other properties that are going to pay for it.
Oh, yeah. Like Pirates of the Caribbean 12.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I really didn't like
Star Wars.
the Dead
See,
Man.
Here's the bottom line with me and Star Wars. I don't want fucking Disney to make 14 mediocre Star Wars movies. I want them to make 3 really good ones.
Yeah.
See, here was my here's my thought, and it was my thought to begin with, is what they should have done is they should have made 7, wait a couple of years, and then release another one, wait a little bit longer, make good quality like content like Ryan's saying, but release it slowly, because they're shotgunning approaching it. They're just like boom, 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 because literally the last 3 or 4 years we've had like 3 Star Wars movies. It's a little much.
Well,
it's like Transformers.
They might have been doing it just to try to bank off the excitement of Disney now having Star Wars.
But why? It's Star Wars. People have been a fan of it since the 70s. I think you could slow roast this thing and people would still be excited. I mean, people have been jonesing at the bit for 30 years to see a sequel. I know I have. So
well, I mean,
but I think they realize the amount of money that's on the table. You know what I mean? If you do these once a year, because no matter, here's the problem, man. Even after 1, 2, and 3, you know, and I will defend the first one, even though there's not a lot to defend about it.
Phantom?
Mostly I defend the pod racing.
Oh, God. Really?
I'll defend a couple of... Come on, the pod racing was awesome.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have a first in the Real Flicks Reviews and MadTrio podcast. James took off the headphones and was almost getting off the chair.
What the fuck was wrong with the pod racing? It was like the most entertaining thing about that movie.
He's not wrong. The problem is that movie was so bad that was the best plot, the best action scenes, and, well, the best written scene.
No,
well, first of all, I'm a sucker for tournament, okay? So anytime there's a tournament in the movie, I'm fucking in.
I can't wait for the Kumite version of a Star Wars movie.
Did you love The Quest?
That actually wasn't that bad of a movie.
As far as tournament goes, you know?
It's the same movie. It's Bloodsport 4? No.
Actually, I think at the time it was like...
I mean, it's
I know, I think you're right,
you
with
just title
4.
all those movies Jean-Claude
When
Van
it got
Damme.
released, it would be number 4.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. There's been so many. It might be...
Yeah, every movie that Jean-Claude Van Damme has done, you can just title Jean-Claude Van Damme 1 through 30.
Pretty much.
Except for Double Team. Double Team is just kind of out there.
Jean-Claude Van Damme 15.
I mean, Double Team doesn't fit in the sequence anywhere, though.
And don't forget, he did do one with Rodman, too.
That's Double Team.
What's the one where he was playing
that's
the twin?
Double Team.
The one where he's twinned? Or
He
had the twin?
That's not... Oh, so you're thinking about Double Impact is that one? Because there's another one where he plays a twin.
No, Double Team is with him and Rodman.
What was the one where he's a twin?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about, though.
Okay, so there's 4 Bloodsport movies. There's Bloodsport 2, Bloodsport 3, and Bloodsport 4, The Dark Kumite.
If you took the Bloodsports, the Quest would be number 4 because of the way that it was released. So it would be released as number 4, but they did the whatever Bloodsport like 4 years after.
So the Quest came out in 96.
96. Okay.
Yeah, so technically it would be Bloodsport 3.
Oh, would it
We
be?
all know that he peaked with Time Cop.
Bloodsport 3 came
God,
in
I was
97.
1 year off. God, whatever.
You know what? Time Cop was really cool for back in the day. It had some pretty amazing effects. I also like...
Yeah, but the 1 was basically Time Cop.
Yeah, dude, a 12-year-old me was a big Time Cop fan. That's for damn sure.
My favorite part of Time Cop was actually how they said how 2 entities can't occupy the same space. Therefore, if somebody touched their older self, it would, remove them from timeline.
And it's really interesting that was like carried over into so many different time travel.
I haven't seen that anywhere else, though.
Oh, I've seen it in like a bunch of them. Yeah,
it is a paradox.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It's
I
a
do
paradox.
know the gun they use in the future, that round gun. It has like a super round barrel.
Oh, okay.
The gun in Time Cop is in 1,000 different movies. I see it all over the place, even today.
Oh, mentioning that, Ryan, do you remember that one that I texted you? It was
yeah, like Ryan looks at his text messages.
No, I mean I talked to Amber more than I talked to Ryan.
I'm gonna start texting her so she can text him. I know for sure he'll answer her.
Okay, so
I don't look at hers either.
Oh, so
that's impressive. You're still together.
So I came across a TV show on Netflix. What was the name of it? I think I sent you the name in there too. Anyways, I was watching this entire show, and it was basically like I told Ryan. It was like I was watching the show, and every thought through my head was Mythbusters did it first. But
you're talking about the Hollywood Weapons.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I wanted to watch that.
No, but what he does that I thought was really cool is he goes into this studio down in Southern California. I don't remember exactly where it is, but it's called Independent Studio Services. And they've been around since the 1970s.
Interesting.
And basically any gun that was ever in a movie, they have it in their vault. And they were talking about one that was a futuristic gun. And basically what they did was they took an AK-47 and built everything around. It's a fully functioning AK-47.
It sounds like the gun from Starship Troopers.
Could have been that. Anyways,
they did that one. That's what they did for that one.
I thought that was really cool. And they go through, and it's almost like you're walking into the Smithsonian's gun room. I mean, if you guys don't know, the Smithsonian does have a gun room.
That's basically why I turned that show on, because you started talking about that, and I'm thinking I think I even texted you this as the Hollywood prop guys
Oh, yeah.
version of an armory is kind of right up my alley.
Oh, yeah.
I am wondering the permit process on that because like machine guns and stuff. So I wonder.
I'm sure they have it. I'm sure they have an FFL
that these are kept in.
Well, no.
I mean, everything is going to be signed out 400 times.
Well, no. I'm just wondering how is there one FFL? I'm just curious how they actually keep it.
Oh,
they keep
like
it in trust?
what their license is and everything.
Yeah, because technically, if I remember correctly, the FFL guy or something has to go with the guy. Because
you're going to have a guy there with you.
Oh yeah, and he does every time he goes out and does anything. The guy in charge of the whole department for them is always around him
because you'd have to.
So he's out there with him, and I'm sure he does have an FFL.
Especially if it's like in the
there's
machine
a couple of big problems that I had with that show. One, it was produced to the tits.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't have produced that thing anymore. I mean, it was the most set up thing of all time, which comes across as really cheesy when you have this like ex-special forces dude who's really not an actor, although he's done a lot of these types of shows.
Yeah, kind of trying to act,
delivering these really cheesy lines, But the couple of problems I had with their testing was just like logistical.
Yeah.
One, they tested if John McClane from the first Die Hard would have been able to in the scene. John, you remember that scene in Die Hard when he jumps off the top of the roof when it blows up with the fire hose?
Yes,
and he couldn't break through the window, so he kicks off of it and he shoots the window a bunch of times and then breaks through. Right?
Yeah.
So they were testing to see if that was possible. The one part that I wanted to see was the control test, like Mythbusters would have done. Okay, does it look like the movie when he tries to do it without the bullets going through first? But they never did. The only time they did it was they shot the window and the guy went through.
What did he shoot? Did he shoot it with the similar or same exact caliber?
Yeah, he shot it with a 9mm Beretta and then also an MP5.
Yeah.
And then the other one was when they were testing the underwater shooting thing.
I thought that was pretty cool.
There's no way the Special Forces guy didn't know what was going to happen in that water.
I agree.
Two, why the fuck would you build a 9-foot tank? What? You couldn't find a guy with a swimming pool?
What? So was it trying to prove that you can fire guns underwater?
No, it was testing a thing from a TV show where a guy shot a dude through a windshield underwater.
Yeah.
Through a windshield underwater. Wow, that's a lot of forces acting against that bullet.
So
there's a car that's sinking and a guy inside the car, guy outside of the car in the water fires the Glock. I think it was like a Glock 19.
Yeah.
Underwater and punches through the window into the guy's skull.
Yeah. And so the guy who pulled the trigger was underwater?
Yeah.
And was the person underwater? Was it shooting somebody outside of the water?
No,
or in the water?
He was shooting. Okay. The car went underwater. It was submerged. The detective jumped into the water.
Okay.
Fully submerged. Went down. Fired 2 rounds. One to break the windshield. One to punch through the windshield into his skull.
How close was he?
5 feet.
From
6
the
feet?
show, it looked like maybe about 18 inches from the window.
Yeah, it looked really close, but I mean, he was pretty.
I'm thinking if it's like 5 feet. It's
But-
fucking full of shit.
But what they did find was it the 457?
No, they used a 454 to
454.
finally punch through the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the only one that went through the window. But then as soon as you see, they made it sound like it would have gone through the window and actually killed the guy on the other side.
No.
As soon as that bullet exits the window, you can see it wobble in the water.
Yeah.
Well, one of the
But-
issues
So
with
it was
snipers.
really disingenuous.
But
Well,
what
one
I
of
thought was really cool was the slow motion of the percussion of the
Dude,
bullet
yeah, that
leaving the barrel.
454
I thought that was
percussion.
really badass.
Well, one of the issues snipers have when they're shooting windshields is that bullet will actually be deflected because most windshields are
They're at an angle, so as it comes in, the bullet's
glazed
going
and
and
tempered.
it's fairly hard to actually kill a target like that because when you aim straight, it's not going to go straight. So you have to counteract that. And another more interesting thing, a new Firefly comic book, this is for Ryan, has been announced, and it will center on the War of Unification. Boom Studios has acquired the Firefly license from Dark Horse, which surprises me that Dark Horse would let that go.
I was kind of surprised that they did that up, too.
And is working on a series following the war between the Alliance and the Independents.
Nice.
Fans will get to learn about Malcolm Reynolds and Zoe Washburn and their experiences in the war as the duo fought for the losing sides. That's interesting. At this point I'm actually kind of hoping they do an animated series like a Grady anime
what is
style.
Castlevania coming back? I actually like that one.
If it does come back, there's a lot of ifs. It'll probably be in a couple more years. I'd be really
stupid. I actually like that. I thought they were going pretty good for that.
What my question was, see, a lot of these things, like say Netflix originals, Netflix did not originally put money towards. So I'm wondering, was this one that they just bought the rights for?
Maybe.
Because if it is, will they get the second season? I mean, I'm curious on how that works for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not going to license something for one season.
No. Well, didn't they do that with one show? Netflix? There was one show that there was one season of it, and there should have been more, but it was so shitty that I was glad they did one.
Oh, because I know the White Rabbit Project, which I really liked, they just didn't want to do other episodes.
Yeah.
But realistically, it was Mythbusters
that
too.
one was not that good.
I mean, I liked maybe 3 episodes out of the entire season.
Well,
to be honest,
the biggest problem is they were basically the build team was being the build team.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest issue. That's one of the reasons I liked it, because I loved the interaction between the two. I love the building process.
As Ryan said with this one, I couldn't find it if it's Hollywood Guns. I'll have to go look up the actual title before I write the description. Anyways, but the White Rabbit Project was way overproduced, even more so than Hollywood Guns compared to what Mythbusters was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, really overproduced. I mean, and it was, I don't know, it kind of felt like there was some forced moments when they were kind of all sitting in the chairs talking.
Yeah, I don't think, I think if they give it another season, I think they would have found its stride, because I agree. I think the talking segments and the interview segments were kind of a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought the studio they were in was a little ridiculous. This just in, It Chapter 2, the follow-up to last year's blockbuster horror hit, poster has been released.
I saw the trailer. Did you see the trailer for it?
Not yet.
No.
Basically, it follows 27 years later. The Loser Club is reunited when Pennywise makes his return.
Yeah, just me. I mean, I liked the one that they redid. I think, I mean, way different than the first one, but I think it was still well done.
They had to do it differently than the original, just because I think you would have been fighting a losing battle.
I think as far as a remake of it, I think it was really well done, honestly. Way better than the Stephen King remake of The Shining.
I've never heard anything good about the Stephen King remake. Everybody I know who likes The Shining hates that one that I know.
That's because it's absolutely
I'm
horrid.
just a sucker for Scatman Crothers.
Yeah, true. I
think the biggest thing with that one is you're fighting against Stanley Kubrick. You're about a guy who had a really distinct vision, a very great style, whose style lends itself really well to that movie and that material. So I think you're fighting against that, because Stephen King's a writer.
Well,
he's not
a producer or
King
director.
Adaptations are inconsistent at best.
Yeah, I actually think all those Stephen King ones that were actually put out, other than It and The Shining, I didn't like. What was it?
There's the Tommyknockers. There's the
Thinner. Thinner wasn't very good.
The
Dreamcatcher one was the Dreamcatcher one.
Christine.
Yeah. I didn't really like Christine. I liked the book.
Yes, Langoliers.
I liked the book. I didn't like the movie.
Yeah, the problem.
See, a lot of them. That's the problem. Is a lot of them were TV movies, like made for TV kind of shit.
And that's exactly what the remake of The Shining was.
So when made for TV really sucked.
Oh yeah,
I would add Shawshank Redemption to your list of good ones.
You're right. But I mean, I'm kind of putting in the horror flick though. Is what I'm kind of pointing at.
You know, that movie's so good though that you're like, wait, who did that? That's Stephen King?
But that was
Pet Cemetery though.
Wasn't technically that, what does he call it, like a novelette? Wasn't that a super short story?
Which one? Pet Cemetery?
No.
Yeah. Shawshank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was a short story.
Yeah.
The craziest thing is, I've heard, I don't know how much is true, I read years ago that Stephen King, for young filmmakers, will let them direct something of his for $1. Hey, did you guys see The Black Tower?
No.
Dark Tower? No.
Dark Tower, that's it. How was it? Did you see it, Ryan?
No.
I just saw a trailer for it again the other day, and I'm thinking, man, that looks interesting, but I think that movie bombed.
It doesn't surprise me.
I
did want to see it, but it wasn't one that I was like rushing out to see in theater. You know, I mean,
there was a gun battle scene. I actually watched the clip on YouTube that had me interested in it. That's like the only issue with being as busy as I am now and having children is finding time to watch stuff I want to list. My movie watch list is getting longer. I almost need to do Realflix reviews again so I can see
is it
shit.
starting to look like my old Netflix queue?
About. Hell, I'm
I
still
was pushing 500 and something like that.
I'm still pushing through some of the anime I've been wanting to watch over the years.
Yeah, same here. Anyways, but yeah, I did want to see Dark Tower, but it wasn't like one I was gonna.
So I was curious, is there any services that you guys pay for monthly? You know, like Netflix or like
That's
one of those
about it.
loot crates or anything that you guys use that you like or dislike?
No, basically Netflix is it. For
I mean,
me.
Amazon. Amazon Prime. I'm a big fan of. Just
Amazon-
because mostly like the online streaming stuff is really great.
Amazon
Yeah,
Prime I have an issue with buying because it says 2-day shipping, but that's 2-day shipping when the company releases it. So I've literally gotten stuff like 6 weeks later type of thing.
Well, I mean, I take a look at the shipping before I even purchase shit, But I'm talking mostly like the actual like video streaming,
yeah.
the shows that they do, the movies that they have. Amazon's gotten a lot of my money just because I'm buying digital movies lately.
I like Amazon. I like the Amazon Prime Video. Between them and Netflix, they seem to have everything.
Netflix,
Disney.
Hulu, I think I subscribe to, but everything else is just through cable, HBO, Showtime.
See,
I don't even do that.
I don't really like Hulu.
But I was gonna. Are you ready to have Ryan almost jump out of his seat?
Sure.
I did watch the first episode of Patriot.
Oh, great!
What was that? Talk about underselling how excited you are.
Well,
I don't want to oversell my excitement just because I want to know what you actually thought of it.
I think it was great. I
think we should save the rest of this conversation
I'm
for
just
next
going to
week.
throw this out. I watched it off of YouTube. There was a full episode. The first episode was on YouTube. Unfortunately, the second one wasn't.
Ooh.
So I only got to watch the first one. But I really liked it.
Hopefully that first taste was good.
Yeah, I wanted to see more.
And don't forget that first taste is always free.
Yeah.
So
They always make you charge for the second one.
So I think one of the services that I've subscribed for at least a year that I've really kind of liked is Crunchyroll. I've always been a giant anime fan. Like the very first one I watched was like Vampire Hunter D, The Lensman, Cyber City Odo. These are old Green Legend Ran. Matter of fact, if you're my age, you're probably the only people who've ever seen half of these. So I love the fact that I get to see a lot of the new releases. Most of the time it's simulcast or like a week later. The only thing that I'm disappointed about, it's not all anime. Like there's some anime that I want to watch that I actually have to go out and hunt for because it's not like certain studios or certain releases. It's interesting how they do it.
What do you mean? Like Crunchyroll?
Well, like my original thought was, oh, cool, I'll get to see every anime released in Japan. This was
gotcha.
my original thought about it. Yes, I realize it's stupid, but
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. Did you really look into Crunchyroll before you did this?
it's $7 a month, dude.
Whatever.
It's like literally it's $7. I mean, it's the cheapest streaming service out there for what you get. You do also get a lot of the Japanese or the Asian drama, like live action stuff.
Netflix like $6.99 when it started?
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about like Netflix has a decent anime, but they don't have like the entire series. Which my one gripe with all of these, if the series is finished, fucking get all the seasons. That's the one thing that drives me nuts.
But the thing about Netflix is that they do want you to go to the disc, and most of the time they have all the disc.
Yeah, they're trying to phase out the discs because I remember at one point, because at one point I was getting Netflix discs every other day type of thing.
Same here.
Since I don't subscribe to it,
I stack like this of the envelopes.
And people I know who still have it says it takes about a week.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they're trying to get away from it because having physical copies of things versus just having a
Digital.
bunch of servers in somebody's colo.
That's true.
But I really do like Crunchyroll just because the fact it gives me decent access to stuff. And another platform I'm fascinated by that I don't subscribe to it because it's free. It's something called Pluto.
Yeah, I like Pluto.
Pluto's pretty good. It has a weird selection. It's basically IPTV, so you get some pretty weird selection of stuff. There's like a 24-hour like TNA wrestling channel, which is hilarious.
Oh, I didn't see that. I have to go back and look. I have Pluto. I just don't spend that much time on it.
No, it's pretty cool. So I recommend Pluto on Crunchyroll. I mean, it's $7 a month. Allegedly, you get access to the manga, but I don't usually read that.
Yeah, I'm not into reading manga either.
I read the Naruto stuff just because I was fascinated and really bored for a couple of days. So one other question. Would you guys ever subscribe to, was it Blue Plate? It's one of these things that you buy a dinner and it sends you the food and all the proper proportions?
No.
Ryan?
Probably not.
But
I am lazy.
But it's, I actually looked at it initially because it's actually not a bad, it's actually a pretty interesting service that they do. They actually do, like John said, they send you enough food for like 2 meals, or I don't know if they do more than that. They probably do. But they just come up and it's basically like you don't really know what menu you're going to get. There's things that you can pick from it, but, and you can say, like you select like a bunch of different ones, and then they'll send you basically a box with the ingredients in it, and you make it.
The proper proportions.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, and they give you directions and how to do it, and you do it for yourself.
So here,
not a bad idea.
My thought with it, and this is the reason why I always thought it would be cool if I was single, was the fact that it's a great way to not only introduce yourself to food, but also a great way to introduce yourself to cooking.
Yeah.
Because you get like a couple of meals, and you get to do stuff that you would never try. Or B, you would know what to do. It comes with the instructions. I always thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
I would never pay the penalty, just the penalty being the price, because it's not the cheapest thing in the world.
No, but I think, with the society that we're in nowadays, I think it's a great idea, because there's a lot of people that are kind of like into little eclectic services like that. There's like snack crates that they do.
I always like like horror crate, gives you like horror movie stuff.
That'd be kind of fun.
There's a loot crate, which is for geeks.
My brother does.
There's a lot of crates out there.
It's like an alpha crate or some shit, and it's like they send you like kind of like survival gear and shit like that.
I want a weapons crate. I want something.
There is a weapons crate out there, but it does not ship to California. You fucking pieces of shit.
Damn.
Yeah,
I know.
No, you got to get. I'm gonna create like an AOW kit.
What I really want is an ammo crate. That way I can, I'll pay this much a month, and you just send me a fucking box of, 45 ACP, 40 S&W. Hell, I'll take 9mm. I know people who want it.
No, but I watched one where some guy was opening up
like would be $90,
like a weapons crate, and he's pulling it out, and he's got like stilettos, full-on butterfly knives. Just a bunch of shit. And I'm just like, dude, that is an awesome crate. And then I was like thinking about it, like, I'm looking at all the weapons he's pulling out. And I'm like, illegal in California, illegal in California, illegal in California. Oh, maybe that. No, I'm pretty sure that's illegal in California too. Yeah, and that's what the guy was saying too. He's like pulling this stuff out. And he's like, it would suck for you guys in California. Like, I want to slap you right now.
Seriously, I'm missing range days so much because of how onerous it is here in California. Like right now, my AR's in 2 pieces. That's how annoying it is. I'm actually considering taking up archery. No idea how to fucking do it, but I'm considering it. Just because I'm
the best, dude.
Just give it a few weeks, and California will start making that illegal too. Can't have broadheads anymore.
It was really hard to strap the women to the shafts, though.
Get a recurve.
I'm really missing like the activity of it, so I've been trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. So it's on my list of stuff to research.
It's the same discipline. It's the same discipline as shooting.
Yeah. Well, the difference is I've been shooting since I was 6. I've never.
You got to account for arrow drop too, and
that's one of the reasons I was looking forward to trying it. Granted, if I do it in where I live now, the HOA will yell at me.
Dude, you have the perfect spot. Well, I'm thinking of your parents' spot, actually. Never mind.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm considering it, because I can get a cheap bow, whatever I decide, and because
you come over here and hunt cats.
Yeah, well, look, get a recurve so you kind of get the technique. If you're going to get like a compound or something like that, your technique's going to change when you learn. But yeah, I mean, a few arrows and whatnot, and maybe some refletching tools and shit like that.
Yeah, but,
you know, kind of get into the process.
But you were saying, I mean, like compound versus recurve, it's like so weird to go from a recurve to a compound, though. It really is.
It is definitely more beneficial to start with a recurve to sort of get your technique, get your things down, and then move on to, you know, and especially start like a light pull. You know, get like a 35, 40 pound pull.
No, start like a Mongolian.
No, I was gonna do the old
horseback.
fashioned British longbow. I'm gonna start at 100 pounds, something nobody but a giant would be able to pull.
I still find that hilarious that technically all boys of the age of 14 or 16 in England are supposed to be trained with the longbow every single year.
By law.
By law.
Actually, my favorite...
I think that's hilarious.
I visited England 10, 15 years ago, and allegedly if you steal a crown jewels, it's law that they skin you alive and nail you to a church door.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Which I think is hilarious.
One of the funniest things is I was listening to one of the princesses, or no, one of the queens. One of the queens was watching in the garden, and there was guards that would walk around every time, and they would stop at this one spot and just stand there, and there was like nothing there. And for the longest time she was wondering what it was, and she finally asked, and they dug through the archives, and one of the queens made it a royal command that somebody had to go over and protect a rose that was growing there like a couple hundred years before, and it never got rescinded.
Wow.
So the guards were still under obligation to stand in that spot for hundreds of years, not knowing why.
That's hilarious.
I think it's just funny that it was never rescinded, so it just kind of got passed down by a guard, just saying, okay, you got to go stand here. Why? Royal decree? I mean, that was really I'm sure that's all they had to say.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I do have a favor out there for you out there. If you guys are into bow hunting or bows, what do you recommend? You give us some information.
Boar hunting.
You can contact us via our Facebook page, which is the MadTrio. I think it's the MadTrio podcast or MadTrio show. I don't remember which one I set it up as. And for Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and Ryan Preston, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.